The Nigerian Nurses Association of USA Incorporated presents a virtual continuing educational program titled Nursing Leadership and Healthcare, featuring the current president of NNAUSA, Dr. Idorian Udosin. Moderators Patience Curry and Dr. Latifat Okeke. Speakers include Rosalind Uti, Comfort Okoracha Ibe, and Dr. Grace Okiru Enoma. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome our moderator, the current education chairperson of NNAUSA, Ms. Patience
Curry. Welcome everyone to today's event. I welcome you all, my great nurses, excellent nurses, scientific nurses. I welcome everyone to our event today. We cannot start anything without inviting the presence of God. So at this time, I'll call on Dr. Edna Madu to please give us an opening prayer. Please, Dr. Edna.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we bless you because you're an awesome God. We bless you, O God, for the opportunity that you have granted the Nigerian Nurses Association to continue in our educational pursuit. We thank you, O God, for what you have been using this great organization to do, great Nigerian nurses that reside in New York. Father, Lord, amidst all the other things that we have been doing in the communities, we have also found it worthy to educate ourselves, to make ourselves more knowledgeable, especially in the area of leadership. Father, we thank you for our leadership in this organization, and we thank you for our educational chair, oh God, even Miss Patience Curry, whom you have used to chair this great committee in such a special way. Today, Lord, even in your word, you have told us that we should study to show ourselves approved. And that is what we are doing today, God. You have allowed our great nurses to volunteer to give us this education out of the knowledge that you have given unto them. I pray, oh God, that as they help us today to understand how to lead as great nurses, that you will empower them with the knowledge, with the boldness that they need to teach us, oh God. Father, as we collaborate with one another, we know that Nigerian nurses are leaders by nature, and we are going to acquire more knowledge to even acquire great leadership positions. So, Lord, we pray that you chair this occasion yourself, and that everything that we do will be in order. Help our leaders, help our invitees, help our membership, help our administration who are manning this Zoom conference today, Lord. And at the end, we will say of a truth, our time was not a waste, but we really empowered ourselves with greater knowledge and ready to lead wherever we find ourselves. We thank you for answering these our prayers today, Lord, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Edna, for that awesome prayers. Thank you so much. And once again, I welcome everyone today. My name is Patience Curry. I am going to be one of the moderators of this event today. I will be introducing my co-moderators shortly. And as the title says, Nursing Leadership and Healthcare. I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I am an administrator as an assisted living. I do have my BSN. I got my BSN from Molloy College. And I went and I received my MSN from Grand Canyon University, where I got my degree in leadership and healthcare. So leadership has always been a passion for me. So I'm so excited about the topic today, which was strategically picked. So I'm so excited about it. And I'm sure you are all going to be enlightened and you're going to learn a lot, even from all that will be said and done today. I cannot do this by myself. So I have to thank my committee members. I have to list them individually. So just please give me 2 minutes just to appreciate them for everything, because this is not a one-man show. I want to thank Mr. Benjamin Okpesei, Dr. Grace Ogeho Enoma, Ms. Chinyere Ahaneku, Comfort Okorocha Ibe, Dr. Grace Adepoju, Dr. Latifa Okeke, Ebele Madwekwe, Dr. Edna Madu, Dr. ID Udosin, Ms. John Erunse, Ms. Liz Udeji, Dr. Maureen Igarosa, who is our secretary, thank you, Mr. Lukman, Ms. Bolaji, Bolaji, Mrs. Obioma Ona, Ms. Rose Ezeani, Ms. Taiwo Adeniji, Ms. Tessie Okolo, Ms. Ada Akumbundu, Dr. Esther Nwaboku, and Ms. Agnes Obaji. I want to thank my committee members. Without you all, I would not be able to do this function. So I really, really thank you all for this. I appreciate every one of you for coming today. Just a few things before I call on the president to give us the welcome address. I just want to remind everyone that during the course of these presentations, if you can stay muted, and if you need to ask questions or to speak or chat with us, we will unmute you. You can unmute at that time. And also during the course of the presentation, if you can type in your questions in the chat box. And after every presenter, we will come and ask the question. We will read your questions, and your questions will definitely be answered by the presenters. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm going to be introducing our president. So just give me a few minutes just to talk a little bit about her so she can come up and give us a welcome address. Our president, Dr. ID Udosin, DNP, MSN, RN, is a nurse administrator at Health and Hospitals, Elmhurst in New York City. She has an extensive nursing leadership background in the transformation of clinical and administrative environments through planning, organizing, directing, and coordinating nursing services. She coordinates the flow of work during off shifts as administrative officer on duty throughout the facility, conveys ideas to keep the hospital running efficiently, and serves as a liaison between the facility, the staff, the governance, and the patients. Her commitment to resolving patients' concerns and family conflicts ultimately prepared her for this role. She also works as an in-service coordinator and nurse educator in a long-term care facility where she directs the orientation process of all new hires and influences review and revision of organization policies, procedures, to ensure compliance with safety, quality, and excellence in nursing practice. Her leadership and educational background and passion for teaching advanced her to the position as an adjunct professor, clinical professor at New York City College of Technology, where she's privileged to teach from her bank of knowledge. Dr. Heidi received her doctorate of nursing practice in executive leadership from Grand Canyon University, the same university that I went to. Her direct practice improvement project was on the relationship between education, religiosity, and adherence to an antihypertensive regimen among Nigerian immigrants living in the United States. Her current research interests also include the impact of COVID-19 on family and nursing students. Passionate about mentoring and serving her community, Dr. Heidi is the co-founder and the director of IBAN IFOC, Inc., a non-profit organization dedicated to inspiring, motivating, and supporting adolescent African girls. She also serves as the board of director of Hope Emmanuel Orphanage and Hope Mobolaji International Academy. She's the secretary of the Akwa Ibom Nurses in USA and vice president of Virtuous Women of Faith, World Restoration Center, New York. And lastly, She is the current president of the Nigerian Nurses Association of USA, New York. Please help me in welcoming our president, Dr. I.D. Udosin, for a welcome address. Dr. I.D., over to you, ma.
Thank you. I'm not sure because I haven't been able to hear the chair. That's why. So, greetings, everyone. So I'm not sure if my turn.
Go ahead, Dr. I.D. Yes.
Are we hearing me?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Go ahead, Dr. I.D. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Greetings, everyone. Because I wasn't hearing anything.
Okay, we can hear you. Continue, please.
All right, thank you. Great and awesome nurses, I welcome every one of you today as leaders into this awesome program. I first of all recognize the greatest leader, which is our Heavenly Father, who is in our midst today, and for giving us the opportunity to learn and to hear from the awesome and talented nurses and leaders in our midst. I thank all our national leaders, all the Council of Presidents, the leaders from all chapters of NANA, for being here with us. Thank you for paving the way of leadership for us to walk through. The Nnausa leaders, you are awesome. I can't open this day without recognizing you. You are all the chairs of the members, active and non-active members. I recognize you today and I welcome you to this awesome occasion. Today has to define who you are and define what you stand for, what you represent, and for leading and helping Nnausa to a greater and newer height. I say thank you and welcome to this occasion. For all the members outside of Nnausa, for observers, I still welcome you and I thank you for being here. The great presenters, and you are willing, able, and talented. All of us, we have what it takes, but not all of us were able to be chosen and to be here today with us and to present. So we're learning, we can't wait to see what you have to unfold for us. Thank you, our coordinator, the coordinator of this event, Pastor Clement, for all your digital attribute, for all that you've done, for what you have done to make this day a success. Who can I not thank? Especially our able and unstoppable chair. You have done it all with your team of experts. You bring this day, this Memorial Day, to our footsteps. I thank you and God bless you for all that you have done. Everyone here is a leader. You're a nurse, you're a leader. You remember all that you've been doing. You carry everyone's assignment on your shoulder. You wear so many hats. The day you were called to be a nurse, you are a leader. So don't let anything, anybody, any circumstance stop you from believing in yourself that you are a leader. You have all it takes. Just activate it. It's inside of you. You can do it. Be a leader of tomorrow. You are a leader in your community. You are a leader everywhere, starting from your house, educating people on the use and the need for being for receiving COVID vaccine and for preventing all other ailments in Nigeria, all over the world and around you. Thank you for being here with us today. And I wouldn't stop by thanking all that have made this day a possibility, whether we recognize you or not. The founding member of Nnausa, who happened to be our executive leader, our national executive leader of NANA. I thank you and bless you for being here with us, for doing all that you have done, for leading us the way and showing us. The past leaders of Nnausa, we cannot be here without you. So we thank you and we believe that you are here with us as well. Whether you are here physically, you are here, whatever is engaging you, we know you prayed for us and you believe in us and you believe in our education Che and her team of experts. We can wait to see and hear what is going on and what we're taking home. Sit back and relax. It's gonna be a nice, memorable, and educating, well taken home day. God bless you all and bless everyone. God bless Nigeria. God bless America. God bless Nnausa and bless Nana, who gave us this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you for that awesome welcome address. Thank you. Before I introduce my co-moderator, before I introduce her, I would just like us to just look at the disclosure, because normally this is a CEU event, and for CEU events, we are supposed to, show you some disclosure. As you can see on the screen, I'm just going to summarize what the disclosure is saying. Of course, I had mentioned that this event was approved by the Northeast Multi-State Division of Education Unit, which is an accredited approval by the American Nurses Credentialing Center, Commission of Accreditation. And of course, the outcome today is that participants, you all will be able to self-report confidence and use of evidence-based leadership skills, self-report knowledge of transformational leadership skills. And as the participants also, you'll be able to identify at least one leadership approach that you can use in your practice, and be able to identify transformational leadership also. Also, with the disclosure statements also, the criteria for successful completion is that you have to stay till the end of the program. It's a 2.5 contact hours. It's a 2.5 CEU. So you have to stay to the end of the program, because at the end of the program, we do have the evaluation. Without that evaluation, you will not be able to get your CEU certificate. So I need everyone to stay till the end. Conflict of interest. This educational activity does not include any content that relates to the products or any type of services of a commercial interest that will create a conflict of interest. And of course, there's no commercial support being received for this event. So I just wanted to bring that to you. So at this time, I just want to introduce my co-moderator, who will be bringing on our first speaker. My co-moderator is Dr. Latifa Okeke. Dr. Latifa Okeke has been a nurse for so many years, so many decades, she says. Her nursing education and practice kicked off from Nigeria with basic nursing and specialties such as midwifery, psychiatry from the renowned WHO, Psychiatric School of Nursing. Dr. Okeke obtained her BSN, MSN at Herbert Lehman College in the Bronx, New York. Then she proceeded to obtain her psychiatry and family mental health nurse practitioner at Stony Brook University and DMP from Touro University in Nevada. She has practiced at various health facilities, in different capacities in New York metropolitan area. She's currently an assistant director of nursing in Montefiore Hospital Medical Center. Please help me in welcoming my co-moderator for this event, Dr. Latifa Okeke. Over to you, Dr. Latifa.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Patience Curry, our chairperson. This is Dr. Latifa Okeke, and I'm going to be moderating and introducing all our speakers for this great occasion. Please fasten your seatbelt and get ready to learn. They are well prepared, and I know we are all living here today with better knowledge from what we know as far as leadership, and when that next position comes up, we are going for it. No fear. Thank you again. Anyway, the first speaker of today is going to be Ms. Roslyn Oti. Ms. Roslyn Oti is a clinical professional development educator at the Long Island Jewish Forest Hills, and that's a member of the Northwell Health System. She started her nursing career in Nigeria at the University College Hospital, Ibadan, where she graduated in nursing and midwifery in the 1980s. She worked briefly at the Federal Housing Authority Staff Clinic before joining her husband here in the United States. She got here, she sat for the NCLEX exam and passed. And then she worked with some agencies before getting a big position at the New York Presbyterian Hospital in Manhattan, where she worked as a med-surg nurse for a few years, and then worked at the then NYP Lower Manhattan, then known, that would be now Lower Manhattan, NYP Lower Manhattan, then known as NYU Downtown Hospital for about 11 years as a labor and delivery nurse. She continued to obtain her BSN and graduated in 2008, followed by master's degree where she graduated as a cum laude in Master in Nursing Administration and Informatics in 2011. She then continued to work and joined New York Presbyterian Queens as an assistant nurse manager for labor and delivery. She worked for a few years, became the assistant director of the OBGYN clinic. She at present, she is a clinical adjunct professor for obstetrics at Adelphi University. Actually, I take that back. That was in 2015. Currently, she's a clinical professional development educator responsible for competency-based orientation for new hires in the Northwell Health System. She is a certified inpatient obstetrics and fetal monitoring nurse. She is also a member of the Association of Women's Health Obstetrics and Neonatal Nursing, Sigma Theta International Honor Society of Nursing. Currently, she's pursuing her DMP, her doctorate degree in nursing. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Roslyn Oti to the podium. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Latifat Okeke, for the awesome introduction. I would also like to thank all my professional colleagues and everyone present in this video conference tonight for taking time out of their busy schedules to be part of this great event. Before I go on to my main topic, I'd like to talk a little bit of what inspired me to be a nurse leader. When I completed my nursing education at the University College Hospital in Ibadan, I worked briefly with the Federal Housing Authority in Nigeria. And there I had this matron who was very charismatic. She's very knowledgeable. She's very respectful. And she was somebody that you want to really commend with, you want to be part of. She had a very good interpersonal relationship. And I told myself that someday I would like to be this woman when I advance in my career. So when I joined my husband in America, I decided to take advantage of the opportunities available to advance my career and become who I am today as a nurse leader. So let's get started. Today, I'm going to talk to you about nurse leadership and influence on social determinants of health. So in my next slide, I'm going to talk about who a nurse leader is. Who is a nurse leader? A nurse leader is a highly intelligent and knowledgeable individual who has skills in influencing effective workplace performance. The minimum requirement for a nurse leader is a master's degree. She has to be a master's degree holder. Usually, you need to have that degree to be able to be par with all those interprofessionals in the healthcare industry. Okay, the nurse leader directs clinical practice outcomes. How does she do that? You know, she monitors the CODI performance improvement projects. HCAPS is very, very important in nursing because this is what drives our income into this profession. Okay, what we do to our customers, how are they with their care that's provided for them? What do we do for them? You want they leave the hospital, we want to give them a survey of, how they were taken care of. It's just like you go to any institution, you go to a bank, and then, the bankers are trying to, take good care of you because they want to know that at the end of the day, how did we do in our service? The same thing with HCAPS. Our patients, when they are discharged, we send them a survey to see how did this nurse take care of you? How was this nurse, how did she communicate with you? How was the environment? Was the environment conducive to your healing? How was it noisy? Or did the nurse communicate effectively to you? Did the nurse show you what medication is all about? When we are giving medication to to the patients, we want to let them know the effect of the medication. We want to make them know why we are giving them the medication. You just don't give the medication to them and say, this is it. So we are always monitoring what is going on with patient outcomes. The leaders are always monitoring. We monitor this by huddling, by doing the press gaining, by checking what is going on every day, by our statistics and see what is going on. How do we move our hospital to the next level? Because without monitoring all this, we cannot advance to the next level. The nurse leader is always a decision maker. You have to make decision on what is going on in your area. Okay, we cannot be at the menu. Nurse leaders have to be at the table, because if we don't have leaders who will advocate for our needs, nobody's going to do it for us. Nobody's going to advocate for nurses. Nobody's going to advocate for our patients. We as nurse leaders have to advocate for our nurses. Actually, what happened I was reading an article last week about abortion rights that was passed in Texas. And I was amazed to see that there was no nurse to make a decision regarding what is happening to patients. Okay, we have to be there as leaders to advocate for not only our patients, but also for nurses. Okay, we have to be at the table and not at the menu. Nurse leaders, we have strong business knowledge, because if you don't have the knowledge of business, nursing, healthcare is about business these days. No matter what anybody says, it's about business. It's about dollars and cents. If you're not making money, the hospital shuts down. And you know what happens? Everybody's gone. So we need to make sure that we have to be very strategic in our businesses when we're dealing with our patients, because our patients are our customers. We need to respect them. We have to give them the best care, and we make sure that everything we are doing is to the best interest of our patients. Because if we don't do this, our patients, give us a good survey, and CMS is not going to reimburse us. It's all about reimbursement. How do we get the money to keep running this hospital? We have to make sure that we're getting the best outcome for that patient, so that we have continue to get reimbursed by CMS. So the nurse leader also ensures that there's compliance with the regulatory bodies like Joint Commission and Department of Health. I know a lot of people say, oh, when Joint Commission is coming, everybody's shaking. Yes, we are all shaking. We want the best outcomes. We want to make sure that our hospital is still running. We want to make sure that we still have a job. Because if Joint Commission does not pass us, or the Department of Health decides to say, okay, you guys are not doing well in this organization, I think you guys need to close down. Once they do that, then we don't have a job. So we need to monitor all these things that is happening to our patients and to our organization, so that we have to move on now. We have to be in business, okay? And nurse leaders are also responsible for the retention of nurses and other healthcare, allied healthcare staff. By this I mean that we spend a lot of money to train nurses. When we have orientation, we have new hires, we train them. We spend a lot of money, and you don't want to just let those staff go away to another facility. We want to make sure that we really nurture them. We really want to make sure that they get the best out of what we have done for them by hiring them. So in my next slide, I'm going to talk about what nurse leaders do, the statistics for nurse leaders. Okay, so according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, nursing constitutes the largest segment of healthcare workforce with over 3 million members in America, and as such has the numbers to influence care delivery. We are the highest in healthcare delivery, the nurses. So we have the numbers to make sure that we influence healthcare. And how do we influence healthcare? We have to do that by advocacy. As nurse leaders, we have to advocate for our nurses and for our patients. Okay, I'm going to go into the statistics of nurse leadership in America. Today, we have about 67% of nurse leaders who work in acute care hospitals. We have 13% in academic institutions, 7% in healthcare system or corporate office, 13% work in other settings, and we have 91% who are women, and majority of them are Caucasians. So what are we going to do about it? We need to have more diversity in leadership. We need to talk about diversity. Dr. Edna talked about how we can move on to the next level. Yes, we need to have diversity in leadership. Okay, it shouldn't be only one set of people being in nursing leadership, and it shouldn't be only women. We need more men, and we need more diversity in leadership. So we shouldn't be afraid to take that position and say, yes, I'm going to be a nurse leader, because that is the only way that America, this is what America is all about. America is all about diversity in nursing or diversity in healthcare. So that will take me to my next slide, in which we talk about the attributes of a nurse leader. So what are the attributes? The number one attribute of a nurse leader is emotional intelligence. What does that mean? Emotional intelligence is you have to be aware of your feelings and your emotions before you can deal with other people. You don't want to be so aggressive. You don't want to be so abrupt as a leader, because you cannot do well. Okay, you have to put other people into consideration. Put them in your shoes. Let them feel what let you feel what they're feeling. Because if you do that, they have trust in you. If you don't do that, if you just, it's all about you, it's about what I'm going to get out of this, my leadership, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Nurses, you have to put them into consideration. You have to be mindful of what is going on around them. You come in as a nurse leader, you want to communicate effectively with them. You want to be a good listener. Sometimes it's not just talking and getting things your own way. You need to be able to say, okay, let me listen, because listening is a very good skill that we need to have as leaders. Okay, we need to be able to listen and hear what other people are saying. And then from there, we're able to make a decision. You make a better decision when you listen to other people. But when you're thinking about just you all the time, then you cannot make a good decision. All right. Nurse leaders should be very authentic. Being authentic means that you should round on your people. You should round on your staff. Every morning, you round on them, let them know what is going on here. Because sometimes the nurses complain, oh, we don't even see this leader. He doesn't even come around. She doesn't even know what we are doing. She doesn't even feel what we are feeling. Yeah. As a nurse leader, we must round on our staff. Round on them. Let them know what they're, open up and tell you what is going on in their lives. Okay, sometimes you want to sit down and hear what they're saying. And what you do, they have trust in you. They have that confidence. They want to be open to you and tell you what is going on. It's not just about work. Sometimes you want to talk about their social lives and see what is going on in their other part of life. And that will help them move forward. Because, when they say, okay, because of that leader, maybe I want to call out sick. I'm not calling out sick, but I'm just going to go to work today because she's a very good person. Okay. Because of her, I'm going to come to work. Okay. Because of her, she listens to me. She's a good person. She's always surrounding. She listens to our complaints. She takes care of us. So she's a good resource person. A nurse leader has to be a very good resource person and very approachable. She has to be very approachable. She doesn't have to be a very intimidating person. Don't intimidate your staff, because when you do that, you cannot, they won't even trust you. They don't want to deal with you. They don't want to talk to you. So we need to be very approachable as nurse leaders, and we need to be able to say, okay, what are the things that you need? How can I help you? How can I help you grow? How can I help you with your needs? Okay. And even if you cannot solve that situation at that point in time, you can always say, okay, I'm going to get back to you. Okay. When you come back to them and tell them, okay, this is how I'm going to help you, come back with your feedback. That speaks volumes, because they say, oh my gosh, she's always coming back. She comes back and she's very resourceful. She's helping us with what we need. That is huge. Okay, so as nurse leaders, we need to be mindful of that and put that in practice. So nurse leaders have to be a strategic thinker. This was evidenced when we had COVID in the year 2020 with nurse leaders. Everybody put on their thinking cap. Everybody became very strategic. So many areas in the hospital that were not being used were put into use. Okay, they turned all those areas to COVID rooms, and we have enough rooms for COVID patients, because at that point in time, they were like, how are we going to do? It's only nurse leaders that were able to put all this together. On the other areas, on other professionals in healthcare, they don't care about anything, but the nurse leaders were always there, day and night, making sure that the nurses are comfortable, making sure that the patients are okay, making sure that everything is done right, and making sure that the nurses have the resources that they can use to ensure that patients are taken adequate care of. So nurse leaders also have to empower their staff. How do we empower our staff? We do this by encouraging them to go for conferences like we are here on the Zoom conference. Leaders should encourage their staff to attend conferences, go to seminars, to know what is, what is evidence-based in their practice, to know what the people are talking about in their practice, and not just doing the same thing over and over and over again and don't know what is new in practice. Nurse leaders should encourage their staff to go back to school. If you have your bachelor's, we encourage you. You want to do your master's, we have tuition reimbursement, we have this to help you. Those are the ways that you can empower your staff to do better and advance in their practice. And this will take me to my next slide, which I'm talking about the roles of a nurse leader. So according to the Institute of Medicine report, the Institute of Medicine is now called the National Academy of Science. The report say the future of nursing, leading change, advancing health. They have recognized the influence and power of nurse leaders in healthcare industry. The Institute of Medicine know that without the nurse leaders, hospital cannot run effectively. Nurse leaders are the powerhouses that make the hospital healthcare industry become what it is today. They drive the outcomes, and they know that without the nurse leaders, things are not going to happen in the hospital. And it's not just in the hospital that nurse leaders have their effect. We also have effect in our communities, in the outpatient setting, and in most of the areas of our lives. So in my next slide, I'm going to talk about how nurse leaders influence social determinants of health. But before I go into that slide, I want to ask you, what are social determinants of health? Social determinants of health are the conditions in the environments where people are born, they live, they learn, they work, they play, and how all these affect their health and health outcomes. So there are 5 domains in the social determinants of health. The 5 domains are education, which is very powerful. We have all our education, we have our healthcare, we have our finance, we have our environment and our parks, where our children can play and have fun. And all this affects our health. And how do nurse leaders influence all these domains? I'm going to talk about that in my next slide. But before I do that, I'm going to show you a video clip where to give you a better understanding of how leaders influence social determinants of health. Please listen to this little video and then enjoy.
Health. It's the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of disease or infirmity. And good health is something we strive to achieve, not just individually, but also as a community. But if we look around us, our family, friends, and others, we know that health is very variable. For example, in 2016, the life expectancy of a child born in Sierra Leone was 53 years, while in Australia, it was 83 years. But even within Australia, the life expectancy of Indigenous people is about 10 years lower than that of non-Indigenous people. And even within a specific group of people, health can change based on a person's income, level of education, or occupation. So why is health so variable? To answer that question, we must understand the factors that influence health. The factors that influence a person's health are called determinants of health. These include who they are, such as age, sex, and genetic makeup, and what they do, as in health behaviors such as smoking, physical activity, alcohol use, and diet. Health is also largely influenced by the conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age, collectively called the social determinants of health. The social determinants of health are shaped by the distribution of money, power, and resources at an international, national, and local level. These can lead to health inequities, which is the difference in health between different groups of people that is unfair and avoidable. Let's take a look at the social determinants of health using a framework developed by the World Health Organization. According to this framework, there are two broad groups of health determinants: structural and intermediary. Structural determinants are the socio-economic and political context that people live in. It includes governance, economic, social, and public policies, and also the social and cultural values placed on health issues. These factors can lead to the unequal distribution of material and monetary resources, which can shape a person's socioeconomic position. Socioeconomic position is characterized by education, occupation, income, gender, race or ethnicity, and social class. The structural determinants of health operate through a set of intermediary determinants that impact a person's exposure, vulnerability, and outcomes to factors affecting their health. These include material circumstances, such as the quality of housing, the financial means to buy healthy food, clothing, or other requirements for healthy living, and work environment. Psychosocial factors, like stressful living circumstances, relationships, and social support. Behavioral and biological factors. In addition to these, health systems determine the type of healthcare, the quality of it, and how easily accessible it is. Bridging the structural and intermediary determinants are social cohesion and social capital. The links between all these determinants are not always linear, but can be complex, interdependent, and interact in many different ways to influence health. For example, poor income can limit opportunities for achieving good health, and conversely, poor health can limit opportunities for people to participate in the workforce. And remember, these determinants can act across the course of a person's life. So, the next time you think about a health issue, consider not only who they are and what they do, but also the conditions in which they are born, grow, live, work, and age. Because if we understand and act on them, we can build a healthier world for everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So moving forward, I'm going to talk about how nurse leaders influence the social determinants of health. So we do this by advocacy in the following areas. So in the outpatient setting, in the inpatient setting, which is in the hospital, and in the community setting. Okay, my next slide, I'm going to talk about the influence in the outpatient setting. So in the outpatient setting, how do we influence social determinants of health? We have to start by health promotion and prevention. Okay, how do we promote health? We do the screening, we do the mammogram, we tell patients to come for mammogram, we do the screening for diabetes, we do the screening for high blood pressure, we do the screening for high cholesterol. Patients who are obese, we want to talk to them about their obesity, nutrition, and the diet. We have to advocate for them and tell them which is the best food and the kind of nutrition to get and how they can get this kind of nutrition. We have to talk to them about the farmers market, because in the farmers market, they get fresh food, fresh vegetables, and that they can afford. You're not telling them to go and get something that they cannot afford. You tell them to go to where they can, things that they can afford and they can make in their own way that will suit them in their health. So we also screen them for high blood pressure. You tell them what to do and how they can get the best health that they require for themselves. We talk about all this in the outpatient clinic. And then in the next slide, we'll talk about how we influence this in our inpatient clinic. In the inpatient, we talk about policy change. Okay, so nursing leaders are involved in policy change. We talk about diversity. I talked about diversity before, how we can do our diversity. We talk about that. So how do we do diversity? When we are hiring, we make sure that we hire a diverse group of people and not just a certain kind of people at all times. When we talk of diversity, we talk about different kinds of people are there. We also talk about how we're going to help and equity and inclusivity. For the LGBT people, we have to make sure that they are inclusive. Okay, we don't say, oh, because this is LGBT, we don't take care of them. We have to take care of them because they are our patients. We also have staff who are LGBT. We have to care for them also. We have to have like a gender neutral bathroom for them. They want to use the bathroom and they say, oh, this is just for a certain kind of people. We don't say that. We make sure that they are all inclusive in whatever they are doing and whatever we are doing in regards to equity. Equity means that you have the resources available for everyone, not just a certain group of people. And if you are doing promotion, you want to promote, if you are promoting the high people, you're promoting those at the lower cadre also. So you don't always do one set of people and leave others behind. That is not equity. We make sure that everything is done according to the way it's supposed to be. And then we need to do our hiring and promotion. We also have to incorporate mandatory training. Okay, so in the mandatory training and annual mandatories, we want to make sure that everybody is inclusive. We want to tell them about what is happening. Because sometimes there was a time somebody told me, oh, they don't know about all this Black Lives Matter. They don't know anything about Black Lives Matter. They don't know because they don't know the history of Black people. They don't know how the people suffer. All they complain is that, oh, these people are here again, or they are here again, or these are frequent flyers. They always come here. So I want to educate them. I tell them, listen, you have to be able to know somebody's history before you can even judge. You don't have to be judgmental to anybody because you have to know how they have come and where they are going before you can help them. If you don't want to listen to their complaints, then you cannot help them. How are you going to cure these people when you are not even helping them or listening to what their complaints are? So we cannot do that as nurses. Okay, we make sure that everybody is inclusive. When we are doing promotion, we promote everybody at the same time and not just say we promote these people because, oh, they are very productive. How about others? The others too, we have to promote them. So we have to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And then when we talk about video conferences, sometimes our patients come in to the hospital, but these people don't speak English. Okay, so we can't say, oh, she doesn't speak English, so we cannot help this patient. That is not right. We need to get a way of, communicating with this patient. Either get the video conferencing as a video assistant, whatever the device to help this patient. Because if you're not helping them, then how are they going to get cured? They're telling you something different and you're saying something different. So how are they going to get cured in that way? So you need to be able to help them get this video conferencing, and then they can help, that will help in healing. And to my surprise, one day I was looking at that video conferencing to communicate with the patient. And I said, let me check out if they even have Nigerian languages in that video conference. And to my surprise, I saw those Nigerian, I saw Igbo language, I saw Yoruba, Hausa, and then I was surprised that, they have all these languages. So we should be able to use them to help our patient, because without all these things, we are not helping the patient heal in any way. We need to be able to assist the patient the best way we can. And if we have to refer them to, to some other services, then we can refer them to other services. Refer them to, like, we make sure that we incorporate the social services to help them into the community. And then in the community, how do we help our patients in the community? That is a great thing we are doing in Nnausa. And I'm very proud to be a member of Nnausa because we are doing a lot of great things in the community for our patients. Okay, we are helping them with events like health screening, health fairs. We are helping with vaccination of the patients. Okay, and if I as a nursing leader, we also help with mobile clinics. Some patients complain they cannot travel all the way because of access. They cannot come to the hospital because they don't have money for transportation, or they cannot access, they cannot come there. We need to provide for them in the best way we can, advocate for maybe transportation, or advocate to get tokens to them. So when I was a director of nursing, I used to advocate they need to get them tokens. Give them tokens so they can come to the hospital. They can't just stay home because they don't have money to come to the hospital. They need to come and they need to be checked out by the doctor, and we need to follow them up. Okay. Also, when there is a problem with a farmer's market or something with their food, we need to encourage them to go to the farmer's market and get food supply. We also have to encourage, maybe advocate for playgrounds in the community. And that is what we do as nurses or as nurse leaders. So my next slide will take me to my final thought, which is an excerpt from Dr. Maya Angelou. And then Dr. Maya Angelou talked about how people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. This is an essay from Dr. Maya Angelou. I admire this woman so much. And then my goal as a nurse leader is to ensure that nurses and patients are heard and advocated for in healthcare industry. Thank you so much for your time.
Whoa, that is awesome. Awesome presentation. Wow, Miss Roslyn Uti, thank you so much. You have truly made us proud. That was a very awesome presentation. I just have some comments here in the chat here. It says staff empowerment is very important, but very rare in active practice. And that is so true. You know, it's very, very important. And there's another comment here that says, exactly, it makes a big difference in leadership. Leaders who empower their staff members see a good outcome in practice. You know, Ms. Uti started off by telling us that we should not be afraid to go into leadership. You know, as I had stated in the beginning also, I am in leadership and it's my passion. And if there are some things I took out from this presentation was that as leaders, we have to educate. It's very important. We have to advocate. You have to advocate. You have to follow through. And you have to understand that there's diversity. But Ms. Uti, I just want to ask you a question. I know that you have stated that the percentage of women in nurse leadership, Caucasian, you had mentioned was 91%, and we need diversity. So how can we, as Nnausa, this is a Nnausa event, what would you do to encourage some of our members here to go into leadership? If there's a take just for us here, what will you encourage our members?
Thank you so much for that question. You know, one thing with us nurses, especially if you are in union, you want to, I want to remain in union. I don't want to be, I want to be a union member. I don't want to be in leadership, because when you're in leadership, maybe if nothing is going on, you are fired. But you know what? As nurse leaders, that's why I'm saying that you have to drive outcomes. You are there to support your staff and make sure that we have the best outcomes for our patients. All right. We are not there to just say, okay, I'm going around and I don't know what I'm doing. You are there at the table with decision makers to make decisions on what is happening to nursing. You support them. You always have to support nurses. If you don't support nurses, nobody's going to support them for you. We have to make sure that as leaders, we advocate for our own nurses. And that is the only way we can move forward. Okay, anytime I go and hear something, that these days it's like we're having a lot of interdisciplinary care. Before now, it used to be whatever the other professional says, the nurses carry out. But today it's not like that. Because of the influence of nurse leaders, we as leaders, we have advocated, we know that we are as educated as our other partners in the service. And as such, we are always talking about patient care. It's not only one person making a decision regarding the patient. It has to be a multidisciplinary decision about our patients. So we need to be able to stand up and say, okay, this is what I want to do. I just don't want to complete my career as a staff nurse. I want to go further. And this is how you just advance. You have to tell yourself, this is what I want to do, and you go for it. If you are afraid, you cannot do it. If you're saying that, oh, they're going to fire me. Some of us have been in leadership for years, and nobody has been fired. And by the grace of God, we continue to be in leadership. So you won't be fired. Don't be afraid. You have to take that bold step to do it. A lot of us have master's degree. We need to take that bold step and say, this is what I want to do, and this is how we're going to do it. Because people are telling you what to do. You also have to be there to say, this is what I want people to do. This is what I want our nurses to do. And this is how we want to do. Because when you are there as a nurse leader, you always take care of your own. Nobody's going to take care of your person for you. You will be the person taking care of your own. So you have to advocate for your nurses. You advocate for the patient. And as Nnausa members, we always have to know that this is the right time for us. This is America. America is meant for everybody. It's not for only one set of people. It's meant for everyone. So you have to stand up and tell yourself that I am a leader in nursing, and I want to be a leader, and nothing is going to stop me from being a leader. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have another question here. He said you mentioned that the recommended degree for a nurse leader is master's degree. There are a lot of DONs and even executive directors that only have BSN. Some are doing great jobs though. How can this be explained? Can we scientifically say that experience comes in handy in leadership? As we know, a lot of leaders with multiple advanced degrees, but with very poor evaluations. Thank you. So the question is really asking about, you had mentioned that only MSN nurses can be in leadership, but this person is saying that there are people with BSNs that are in leadership positions also. And she just wanted you just to explain that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Curry. And what I said was it's recommended. The recommendation is for you to have a master's degree. The reason why I said you should have a master's degree is because I'm not saying that experience is not good, but before you even get to that level of being a nurse leader, you must have acquired a lot of experience also, because we didn't start and jumping from staff nurse to being a nurse leader. You have worked years, and I'm sure a lot of nurse leaders have worked years before they became nurse leaders. So when you are even applying to be a nurse leader, you have to have, most places we say, at least 5 years of experience before you can, apply. So what I recommend is for you to at least have your master's degree, because at that point you have been exposed to a lot of knowledge in school, evidence-based practice. Today, Our practice is about evidence-based. If you don't have that kind of knowledge for evidence-based practice, you don't know what is going on. You have to be a strategic thinker. Okay, if you are not strategic, you can have all the experience you want. If you don't have knowledge of informatics, you cannot do well as a nurse leader. You need to have knowledge of informatics. You have to be a strategic thinker, and you have to have good communication skills. These are all the things that you acquire when you have advanced level of education. Okay, I mean, having a bachelor's degree, most of the healthcare centers these days, especially the big healthcare systems, their nurse leaders are usually not BSN. They maybe in some places they are, but most of the nurse leaders today, their required degree is master's degree. And when you look at any opening anywhere, they will tell you required or recommended degree is master's, because that's the only way. We have to read statistics. You have to be able to know what are the stats, because those are the things that drive healthcare organization. What is going on here? What is the CORI rate? What is the rate of falls in this organization? What is the rate of postpartum hemorrhage in this organization? You have to know all those statistics. If you don't know them, then you cannot talk with other healthcare leaders. We want to be at par. When we're fighting that, we want to be in leadership position, and we want to be at par with other healthcare leaders, and we want to be at the table. The only way we can be at the table is for you to advance your degree. No amount of experience you have, if you don't have that knowledge from master's degree and above, you won't be able to communicate when those people are talking, because they have done a lot of research. You have not done enough research as a bachelor's degree holder. The people who are in master's and PhD or doctorate or DMP, they have done a lot of research, evidence-based research, and those are the things that they use to talk when they are talking of with all their other peers in all the healthcare industries. We're talking of pharmacists, you're talking of the doctors, you're talking of the respiratory therapists. When you are on this table with them, we are all talking the same thing, because I know what they all know. Thank you, Ms. Curry.
Said we have to be on the table. You have to be at the table. We have to be at the table. If you are at the table, you are able to make decisions, and no one is making the decisions for you. So that's why I'm saying today with this program, you should be able to leave here today empowered. That's why we are here. Nigerian nurses, you can do it. You can be empowered to be leaders. Enough of bedside nursing. You can do it. So we are here to empower you all. Thank you so much. Just one more question before we move on. Great presentation. As you had mentioned about the diversity in nursing leadership, what are the ways nursing leaders were appointed? Mrs. Uti.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Curry. They are not really appointed. If they go for interviews, like, if there's an opening, you apply, and you go for the interview, and you prepare yourself, just like you prepare for anything. Anything you want to do, you get, adequate preparation. And so I want to advise people, if you're going into leadership, make sure that you have some certifications with you, like you're certified in your area of practice. Okay, because when you are certified in your area of practice, you have more knowledge. You are very knowledgeable and know what you're doing. Before now, when I must tell you, when I was a labor and delivery nurse, and I just, do something, I follow the orders because that's what I was asked to do. But when I became certified as a labor and delivery nurse, now I see the reason why these are done. So now I can now query, why am I doing this? Why would I give Pitocin, and when the patient is having tachycystole? I'm sorry, I have to use my language of labor and delivery. So I have to use all those things. I say, why am I doing this? This is the reason why we have to be certified. Okay, if you are certified, you have the rationale for doing something. You know the rationale for doing it. You are not just doing it because you were asked to do it. Okay, you are asked to do it, and then a patient asks you, why are you giving me this medication? Why am I doing this? Oh, because I was asked to give it to you. No, that is not scientific thinking. Scientific thinking involves you using your knowledge to be able to explain the rationale for doing something. That is why we are scientific nurses. And I know as Nnausa members, we are all scientific nurses here. So we also be able to use our knowledge to be able to transform healthcare. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will move on. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We are called to serve humanity, endowed with the art and science of caring. We are built on integrity and discipline that transcends through every generation. Immaculate and amicable, we are the source of hope to ailing ones and the foundation for building a healthy world. Together we shall stand. Nurses are great, nurses are caring, an epitome of humility and service. We are specially ordained for this vocation. Yes, I'm proud to be a nurse. From near and far we have gathered with one goal, to uphold the good name of our profession, and for neatness and splendor, you for understanding, R for responsiveness, S for selfless service, I innovative and initiative, N for nobility, G for gentleness and love. Nurses are great, nurses are caring, an epitome of humility and service. We are specially ordained for this vocation. Yes, I'm proud to be a nurse. We are called to serve humanity, endowed with the art and science of caring. We are built on integrity and discipline that transcends through every generation. Immaculate and amicable, we are the source of hope to ailing ones and the foundation for building a healthy world. Together we shall stand. Nurses are great, nurses are caring, an epitome of humility and service. We are specially ordained for this vocation. Yes, I'm proud to be a nurse. Nurses are great, nurses are caring, an epitome of humility and service. We are specially ordained for this vocation. Yes, I'm proud to be a nurse.
Yes, we are proud to be nurses, Nnausa nurses. Just like Miss Rosalie has said, she's proud to be a member of Nnausa. These are some of the things we do in the community. And with the support of our leaders in Nnausa, we are able to go out there to give back to the community. And that's what leaders do. Thank you so much for that. At this point, I will call on my co-moderator, Dr. Latifa Okeke, to please introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corey. Our next speaker is Ms. Comfort Obi Ajuru Okocha Ibe. Ms. Comfort started her nursing career at the School of Nursing, University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Enugu, where she obtained the Nigerian Registered Nurse Diploma. She worked for a few months and then got her Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. She's been a nurse for some decades now. I won't tell you. You'll find out by the time you finish listening to her. She migrated to US in 1994, sat for her exams and made it. She obtained her Master's of Science in Nursing, an adult and gerontology nurse practitioner from College of Staten Island University. She's currently pursuing her doctorate degree in nursing at Aspen University. She's worked in different capacities in clinical settings as an emergency room nurse, as a psych nurse, became a nurse educator in psychiatry, where she worked for about 5 years. She helped to develop behavioral health program in one of the New York City Health and Hospital Corporations, in home care to be specific. And there she grew to the level of a director of nursing, and she's currently working as a nurse practitioner in a urology clinic at one of the HAC hospitals, to be specific, Kings County in Brooklyn. Please help me to welcome Ms. Comfort Obi-Ajuru Okorocha Ibe.
Good evening, nurses. Good evening, great nurses. I am privileged. You see, the music that ushered me in said, I am proud to be a nurse. Yes, I am proud to be a nurse because I am a nurse. And like Dr. Latifa said, wait until you hear how long she has been a nurse. Yes, I've been a nurse for 3 decades, and I'm proud to say that it did not stop me from going into transformation. So, nursing is nursing. That's what we are. We are nurses. So, welcome to this forum, my fellow Institute nurses, our invitees from all walks of life, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your tight schedules to come and listen to what nurses do as they transform into the contemporary healthcare delivery. So, the purpose of my own aspect of this presentation is to discuss transformational leadership, nursing leadership in clinical setting, in all the arenas we meet and greet our patients and others, not just our patients. When we are talking about e-health, we are talking about wellness also. So transformational leadership, it transcends across all settings. And I said, from bedside to the boardroom and actually beyond. So transformational leadership, when we look at it, looking at the PowerPoint clip that I'm showing you right now, you look at it in the middle. We are looking at modeling the way. Nurses form the foundation for the critical healthcare sector of any healthcare system. And we are crucial care givers and care leaders. So we have to be transformed so that we can be abreast of what is going on. All right, so with modeling the way, as leaders, we have to show those that are following us. We have to put them in a situation so that we can hand over the baton, because we are not going to continue to be like that. So with modeling the way, we have to encourage the heart. Who are we encouraging? We are encouraging our nurses. We no longer eat our youngs. Even as a up and becoming young nurse, I used to hear it. No, now we grow our nurses. And how do we grow them? Exactly with how we are doing what we are doing now. We inspired our nurses. We shared vision, because when you have a vision and keep it to yourself, it is of no use. We share the vision so that each and every one of us can have the same mental model to look at what we are doing. We enable others to act. Mrs. Uti spoke highly on empowerment. Yes, we enable our staff to act, But we enable them to act by also enabling them to speak up. Gone are the days that, you don't speak up, you look down because you don't want the matron to put you on the bad book. These days, we want to get in good trouble. And good trouble is what? You speak up, because it has been identified that when critical teams are allowed to speak up, they have different perspectives. And with different perspectives, so you are able to move your organization forward. And we challenge the process. When I say challenge the process, we are talking about challenging the status quo. Remember, all of this presentation this evening is on transformation. Okay, so we are challenging the status quo. We want to do things differently. Transformational means what? Innovation, new ideas. We don't want to get stuck to, this is how we used to do it in the past. And I can say that because I am a 20th century nurse and also a 21st century nurse. So I'm talking from experience, from a lived experience. All right. So my next slide, I'm sorry, I say my next schedule. So the introduction here, what I'm going to cover quantum leadership. We're going to know what it's all about as we go along. We're going to look at the characteristics of a transformational leader. We're going to use some clinical setting scenarios, and I will welcome any scenario that you bring to table so that we can apply transformational leadership to that clinical scenario and see how we can improve, because we have to practice what we preach. Okay, we have to walk the talk, and we cannot just be saying transformation. We need to apply to our clinical setting. Okay, and of course, we are going to discuss the big shared governance. So in my next slide, I'm going to talk about quantum leadership. Quantum leadership, actually, if we stay here today, we're just going to be talking about leadership. So I'm going to keep it simple. What is quantum? Quantum leadership is awesome. That's how I can say it. Okay, this is a leadership in the 21st century, where what matters is your roles, not your titles. Now, there is focus on what? On accountability, not responsibility. There is focus on positive outcomes, not processes. We are looking at outcomes. There is focus on horizontal relationship and not vertical relationship, where we have from top down command. That is not quantum. We are looking at a relationship where everybody, and I'm sure you're going to be tired of hearing everybody has a voice. That is quantum leadership. We are looking at high performance. We are looking at resilience, just like we all experienced for the past, a year and a half now. So that is quantum leadership. Why am I focusing on this quantum leadership? It's a conscious leadership, and it brings out intelligent teams. So with being quantum nurses, we'll be able to transform healthcare to upstream so that we can compete favorably with other professionals in healthcare. Because, like Rose said, it's all about business now. So if you don't showcase what you have, you'll be left behind. So my next slide, I'm going to talk about the characteristics of transformational leadership style. For these characteristics, I borrowed from Sherman 2012 on characteristics of transformational leadership. We are looking at idealized influence. What does that mean? How we influence, our charisma, role modeling, practicing what we preach, how we influence those that follow us. Remember, I cannot say much about going forward, handing over the baton, because we cannot remain at the one position for a long time. So with that idealized influence, you are able to stimulate your staff, to stimulate your followers, to think outside the box. You are able to make them do things for themselves and not always be asked to do something. Because like, I think it's Dr. Latifa said, no, our president, Dr. Ido, said, every nurse is a leader. And yes, irrespective of the area that you are working, every nurse is a leader. And nurses, remember, leadership does not rest on tenure. It does not rest on how long you have been a nurse. It does not rest on how many A's you had. Okay? It rests on what we do. What is nursing is an act of what? We are science and act. So, moving forward, I'm still talking about characteristics of transformational leadership. Inspirational motivation. We have to motivate our staff, especially those who are under us, those that are being led. We have to motivate. We have to share our visions with them. We have to discuss with them. We don't want to be always telling them what to do. When you share the vision with them, they will see their own vision in your own vision. And also, with that intellectual stimulation, you're going to challenge them also to look around their environment and see what needs to be improved. For any performance improvement, you want to involve those who do the work. You don't come from the office and come and say, I think this needs to be here or that needs to be there. No, for intellectual stimulation, you want to challenge them because every nurse, like I said, is very smart. It is not easy to become a nurse, whether you started it from Nigeria or whether you started in England or you started in this America. It is not easy to be a nurse. Individual consideration. One of the characteristics of transformational leadership is individual consideration, okay? Which means we have to show empathy. There must be a degree of empathy. You have to know how others feel. That brings us to what? Emotional intelligence. If you're not emotionally intelligent, you will not be aware of your own self. Because for you to be aware of how others feel, first of all, you have to be aware of your own self. So that's that. So moving on to the next slide. Now we are going to apply transformational leadership in nursing practice. So for the scenarios, I chose rapid nurse turnover. Remember, like I said, I was a nurse educator, and I also chose conflict resolution because with rapid nurse turnover, for those of us here who are or have been educators, it is very frustrating for you to train nurses and within 6 months, they are out the door. It is very frustrating when nurses don't feel comfortable to talk to their leaders and they always come to the educator because we are not going to write them up. We are not afraid of anybody. So we have to educate everybody, including senior and executive leadership. So having said that, let us look at rapid nurse turnover. For rapid nurse turnover, I chose it as a scenario because it has been impacting us a lot. And also, Dawson 2014 note that nursing turnover issue is a very serious issue that can compromise patient and staff safety. It will increase healthcare costs and impacts morale of the staff. So, because we know all this, what are we going to do? Let us change this status quo. What can we do about that? So having said that, transformationally, I'm going to use Quota 2012 stages of change to change this status quo of nurse turnover. And what are we doing first? We have to establish, I'm sorry guys, this battery is running low. So we're going to establish a high enough sense of urgency, which means you're going to listen to every staff to say, what is going on? Tell me, why are nurses leaving? That is called establishing sense of urgency. And now, when we have established this sense of urgency that nurses are leaving, so we're going to work with everybody. When I say everybody, I focus so much on frontline staff because they are the people that will tell you where things are going on. You cannot be in the office and know what the problem is. So leaders, we need to get out there. We need to go to our frontline levels so that we can hear from them and know what is going on. Because sometimes, because they don't have that confidence, they don't have that trust in leadership, when there's a problem, they're not going to come to you. But those of us who have been educators, you can bear with me, you can agree with me that your nurses feel so comfortable. And that's why I have this vast knowledge in discussing what I have to discuss. Now that you have identified the sense of urgency, you have created this guiding coalition of nurses, what else? You're going to develop that vision. Like I said before, you're going to share the vision and you're going to be on the same page. And how do you get on the same page? You get on the same page by communicating the vision. And vision is communicated in various ways. So, having said that, my next slide is going to focus on conflict resolution. Did I miss somebody here? No. Okay. Conflict resolution. So when we are looking at conflict resolution, we are looking at what I call collegial dialogue. With conflict, we are not confronting the person. What we are confronting is the situation. And how do we confront situation? By being assertive, by showing empathy, by actively listening, because we learn more when we listen than when we talk and listen. Also, under conflict resolution, we apply the ICARE principles, the principles of integrity, compassion, accountability, respect, and excellence. Those are ICARE principles. In integrity, as a leader, remember, leadership does not rest on tenure. Wherever you find yourself, either you're leading fellow nurses, you're leading your ancillary staff, or you're leading an organization, you have to show that integrity, which is honesty. It comes with honesty, how you carry yourself, your poise, your confidence. Compassion, as a human being, you have to show that you are a human being, and you have to show some understanding of how people feel. When there is a conflict to be resolved, don't be so judgmental. Don't be quick to judge. Because when you do that, you create negative energy. And with negative energy breeds toxic environment. So with the ICARE principle in conflict resolution, like I was saying, we look at respect. You want to resolve any conflict? Give some respect. Take the person to a quiet place. Everything is not criticism. Sometimes we critique situations. So we respect because it is reciprocal. Because some people think that respect is upstream. No, respect is upstream, downstream, left and right. And this is transformational. Okay? So we're talking about excellence. When we talk about excellence, we are talking about evidence-based practice, best practice. Excuse me, if it is not applied to clinical setting, it has no value. It's not going to generate quality. My next slide, I'm going to talk about shared governance. Shared governance is an important activity now in all healthcare institutions who want to be abreast with the changes in the contemporary time. It's an organizational innovative model that gives the staff nurses the control over their work processes. This is a governance, like you can see on the PowerPoint here. This is a governance where everybody is on the same stage. This is a shared governance that we encourage our nurses to be part of so that you have the opportunity to speak up and talk with the leadership, especially executive leadership, before for you to meet up with the chief nursing officer or the chief executive officer. I'm talking about CNOs and CEOs. You have to be in management. The shared governance has now given you the opportunity to be at the same table with them and share your own perspective. For instance, at Kings County, their psychiatric emergency room did not have the plexiglass. And it has, everybody knows about Kings County, our story anyway. It has been there forever. But who said, you know what, we need our nurses to be protected? It was the shared governance team. Because the shared governance team, they took it upon themselves and called the attention of the chief executive officer, because sometimes, let us be real, one thing with nursing, sometimes we are like mothers, in the house. I'm not talking about, the gender. Nurses, we try to, cover things, there is no money. Don't worry about that. It has been like that forever. No, that is not what shared governance is all about now. We have to challenge the status quo. So this shared governance team, they were able to communicate, to engage actually the chief executive officer. And as we are speaking today, because of their influence, they are able to get the plexiglass. This is just one example that I'm giving. So what I know is that the more engaged and empowered the nursing workforce with the knowledge and the resources given to them, the more those resources are available as baby boomers like us, some of us, plan to retire. So with shared governance, it has made it clear that for a change to take place, nursing care performance improvement has to be driven by those who do the hands-on tasks, and however, with the support of leadership. In my next slide, I'm going to talk about what it takes to be a transformed leader. I've actually, covered most of the things. A transformed leader, of course, is a change agent. Like we said, you look around your environment, you change, bring people along with you. You're not going to just stand and change. You have to change with other people's input, because it's all about every one of us having something to bring to the table. Yes, we want to be at the table. People want to be at the table. We want to have voice, right? Yes, we want to have voice. But remember, the more the number, the louder the voices. And that's why I said, as a change agent, you want to include so many people. Inspirational. We have said it over and over. You have to inspire others. Hand over the baton. Let us do things different ways. We are talking about transformation, innovation. Let us do things different ways. Let us not get stuck on this is how we used to do it. That is what we do as transformed nurse leader. Commitment to changes. Commitment to changes is exactly what I said. Sometimes, but we have to be careful. We commit to changes that bring positive outcome. Not every change is important. You have to look at what that change is bringing. All right? Okay, motivational. We've spoken more on that, because you have to exemplify the behavior that you want in those that are being led. Remembering that every nurse is a leader. There is no super nurse over the other, because all we all need is to have the same exposure. Once you have that same exposure, whether it's in clinical setting or whether it's in academia, trust me, we can do it. And I keep saying it, it's not easy to be a nurse. That's why we are proud to be nurses. Also, as a transformed nurse leader, you help your staff to align with the organization's missions and visions. Because if an organization does not meet its visions and missions, then that door is not going to be open for a long time, because we are talking about sustainability now. So for you to sustain, you have to carry people along so that they can align with the organizational mission and vision. Moving forward, now that we have spoken about transformational nursing in clinical settings, we are going to look at the impacts they have on clinical setting. The impacts, first of all, we have to start with us, right? Nurses. The impact on us is that it makes us feel good. It makes us be more proud. As nurses, there is job satisfaction, there's reduction in nurse turnover, there's reduction in stress of life, and of course, there is what we call work and personal life balance, because of what transformational leadership can do in different settings where we find ourselves. Impact on patients, of course, happy nurses, happy patients. So our patients are satisfied, our patients have better care experience, and our patients can make us, leave our doors open. There's something that is called Hospital Compare. They go on that website and their site, and they're going to click on what their experiences were in that particular hospital. So it keeps the door open. The patients are satisfied, the patients are safe, and quality care is rendered. Impact on organization, of course, like I said, when your patients are satisfied, your staff, the whole workforce is satisfied, of course, you are meeting the mission and your visions. I use example, the vision for Kings County Hospital is that we hope to be the best hospital in New York City, health and hospitals. That is our vision. And if we can put all these transformational strategies in place, why not? But our mission, we meet every day. You know what our mission is at Kings? Our mission is to treat each person, irrespective of where they come from, irrespective of their ability to pay, irrespective of their gender, their creed, and everything, with respect, because we know that everybody is equal in the eye of God and every other thing in this life. And how does it impact the community? It impacts the community because when your patient is happy and the family is happy and the village is happy, of course, it's the whole community. And that means we have what? Better care for the patients, better health for the population, and of course, with all this, better value. This is according to Triple M. Triple M instead of medicine. We have better care, better health, and better value, because it's all about value-based. Because we provide all this and we don't have the money, I am sorry, we are not going to be open for a long time. So, moving forward, after we have heard all this now, nurses, and ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say is what, nurses, let us get transformed. And how do we get transformed? I know, you notice I lowered my voice. Yes, because I want to nail it. You know, sometimes when I speak, you can see my passion. You can see I speak with emotion because, like Dr. Latifa said, I've been a nurse for 3 decades and I'm proud. Because what does that mean? I've been there, done that, seen it. From being a new emergency room nurse, running around, being the vampire because others couldn't see, I was drawing the blood, you know, like I shared before, being the first group of nurses to take the NCLEX on the computer in 1994. So you know where I'm coming from, never touched it. So I have been transforming for a long time. So when we say let's get transformed, it's what we are doing now. Build professional relationship. Look at how this professional relationship now give, you know, I would say give birth to what we are doing today. That is how we get transformed. We get transformed by embracing technology. Let us embrace technology. Mrs. Uti already shared it. When we see patients, it doesn't matter whether as a provider or just as a clinician. When we embrace technology, we want to understand there are some of our patients who cannot speak English, like she said. We embrace technology by what? Using we call it, in my place, we call it the MATI. So it's a video conference call where you can, you know, see the person as you're translating or you're talking. That's embracing technology. We also embrace technology when we tell our population, please get vaccinated. There is no chip, okay, being put in your body. So we're embracing technology because even though we'll be, you know, unfortunately, it's like, oh, it took a long time for other vaccines to come out, but this one is so quick. Yes, it is so quick because there is advancement in technology. How do we get transformed again? Integrity, the way we carry ourselves, the way we look at our nurses, okay? Accept accountability, effective communication, feedback, share the vision. I can go on and on. Welcome collegial dialogue, drive PI improvement, okay? Be there for one another, all right? So let us do it. We can do it. So in conclusion, we have covered quantum leadership, transformational leadership in all the settings with 2 scenarios. So right now, I am ready for questions because we are going to do this together. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And
Thank you.
welcome to Transformation.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Comfort. That was really awesome. Thank you. I am lost for words. Transformational leadership in clinical setting. I told everyone today they are in for a great event today. You know, just looking at the chat, I'm just going to read some of the things, the comments and the questions. There's a comment that says intellectual stimulation, empathy, great leadership qualities. And someone says they are taking notes as if they're in class, which is good. They agree. You know, change is always difficult. But in this 21st century, we have to want to be change, transformational leadership. One of the questions here I have for you, Ms. Comfort, is they're asking you the power of good self-presentation as a way to lead. It says, can the speaker please highlight on the power of good self-presentation as a way to lead? To the specifics, the way we dress up and model ourselves on a daily basis.
Oh,
they want you to.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our able chair and whoever asked this question. You know the secret?
The question is from Liz Udeji. She's the executive leader at New York Health and Hospitals, and she currently oversees quality, patient safety, risk management, performance improvement, and medical board. So she asked this question.
All right. So the secret to this question and to the answer to it is what? Knowledge.
Knowledge.
When you have adequate knowledge and you have, when I say adequate knowledge, knowledge is not just book work. Knowledge is when you look at the environment where you work, and of course, book work will kind of, I would say, polish it better. And you have to, be assertive. That's who we are. We are nurses. You cannot advocate for people if you're going to be talking with your face down. You have to look up. You have to look people in their eyes, okay? And tell them, what is going on. So the secret to say this is what? Knowledge. Number 2 is assertiveness. Another one is what? Say it the way it is. All right? And number 2 is challenge the status quo. Because the status quo of this is how we used to do it, or we cannot move. No, we have to move. I've done it before. I used to be on the lower level. I'm still low though, because I'm a practicing nurse practitioner. We're nobody. But having been there, done that, I'll say knowledge, because an empty vessel cannot make a noise. So that's what I say.
Thank you so much for that. From my take, from what Ms. Comfort spoke about, I have some little things I jotted down here. You see, we have to model. It's not enough just to walk, just to talk about it, but we have to walk the talk. For that transformational leadership, you have to walk the talk. We have to inspire our nurses, share the vision. As leaders, to be transformational leaders, we can't be selfish. You cannot be selfish. You have to share the vision. We have to, you be able to have that quantum leadership, as she said. Everybody has a voice. So I want you to know that we all have a voice. In your respectful places of employment, know that you have a voice. You can sit at the table and speak with the leaders without being fearful. We have to learn to role model. When she was speaking on role model, I thought about Dr. Grace. Dr. Grace, I hate to put you on the spot. She is a role model. And I have been the educational chair for 5 years. And I know I have learned a lot from her as a role model. And that's what leaders are. Leaders are role models. And when we are willing to change and transform ourselves, will be better. So nurses, I want us to learn to share that vision. Every nurse is very smart. Do not think of yourself as just a nurse. You are very, very smart. And she gave us this scenario of the rapid nurse turnover. My God, you know, when she gave us that scenario, I said that is truly, truly awesome because she really nailed it there on the head there. Mrs. Comfort Okorocha, thank you so much once again for that awesome presentation. At the end of all the three presenters, we'll have more time to ask more questions. Just because of time, I want us to move on to our next speaker. Thank you so much, Mrs. Comfort.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you.
Shall never be in vain to serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Hey, now so oh yeah. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria call obey. To serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom. In freedom. In freedom. Peace and unity. Arise, my people. Arise, my people.
Meeting in person, but I wanted us to have some fun. I want you to enjoy the program. I just don't want you just to listen to presentations. So I put some fun in it, and I hope you all enjoyed that. So without wasting much of our time, I'm going to call on my moderator again, my co-moderator, to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Latifa.
This next person is someone I wish we are doing this physically. I would have asked for everyone to rise on their feet because we have to give honor to whom honor is due. I am going to be introducing Dr. Grace Ohieho Enoma, whom we all know is the winner of the 2019 Yankees Nurse Hero, an adjunct associate professor at Hunter Bellevue School of Nursing, and nurse administrator at New York Presbyterian Queens. We also know her to be to have, of course, basic nursing education and midwifery from Nigeria, BSM from Pace University, Masters in Public Health, and Master of Science in Nursing from Hunter College, one of the city universities of New York, and Doctorate in Health Administration from University of Phoenix. She's also a certified nurse executive, a fellow and mentor of NYU Leadership Institute for Black Nurses, and a fellow of the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellowship. I can go on and on about this leader, about this nurse hero, about this one of great blessings that the Lord has blessed Nnausa and Nana for. And I'm going to also let you know, she's also a community health activist. Dr. Nnausa started Association of USA, Nnausa, to help eliminate health disparities among African immigrants, leading to the National Association of Nigerian Nurses in North America, which is our mother association, NANA. Dr. Nnausa is currently an executive director. Through her leadership, the Federal Ministry of Health in Nigeria, in collaboration with NANA, created action plan on public awareness campaign against domestic violence in Nigeria. That was which established Nurses Technical Committee that focuses on developing a blueprint for strengthening nursing through coordinated system policies and programs. Dr. Nnausa also mentored nurses to advance in their career, resulting in many nurses obtaining PhD and DMP in nursing. I am proud to say I am one of those groups. I thank you again, Dr. Grace Nnausa. She has published several articles in peer-reviewed journals. Please, nurses, help me to welcome Dr. Grace Oheho Nnausa to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Latifah, for the warm welcome. And thank you, Madam Chair, for this wonderful program. Yes, my goodness, you've added some fun into it. And I enjoy the national items. I think that is transformational also. So yes. I want to really, I've never heard that before, that version of our national item. So that is transformation, with technology. It shows that we are really moving forward. To thank our great speaker, oh my God, Ms. Rosalie Uti, and oh my God, Ms. Comfort. That was powerful. That was wonderful. To talk about leadership with social determinants of health, using leadership, not leaders, to actually look at the how leaders, not leaders, can help resolve social determinants of health. That was awesome. I also want to thank, oh my goodness, Ms. Comfort as a transformational leader. We can't really do much without being a transformational leader. So I want to thank you. My topic for this evening is of nurses in policy development, politics, and nursing practice. I want to emphasize this. What our great speakers have focused is, as nurse leaders, what can you do, to influence, to make changes in healthcare? So that is the area I'm focusing on right now, the role of nurses in policy development. Head over and over, if you are not at the table, you will be in the menu. So what is our role in policy development? What is our role in politics? And how does that impact the practice, our practice? And the speakers have already said, it's not only how does it impact our practice, but how does it also the environment, that we practice in, environment of care. So we're going to look at my next slide. We put out the game plan, what we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about the defined health policy, and we're going to discuss historical examples of federal health policy, that shape practice. We're going to describe concepts involved in health policy, and also discuss the ground political strategies, making changes in healthcare. So how do we as nurses, how do we make changes? How are we going to those leaders? So what are we going to do, and how do we go? It's very important, on these discussions to really look at the background. So the first thing I'm going to right now is to talk about what is nursing. When it comes to Nightingale, in the next slide, look at what Florence Nightingale says about the nursing. What did Florence Nightingale say here? He says that it means any in charge of a personal health of another, and that nursing ought to assist process. And what is so important, what Florence said, is that neither nursing or medicine can do anything but remove obstruction. Talk about health policy. When we talk about health policy, we talk how we remove the obstructions, so that the patient can heal. How do we remove obstructions so that that can feel well? How do we remove obstruction so we can put patient in the best condition for nature to add on or her? Of nursing, what nurses do. Ours is to remove that obstruction. Look at the first speaker that talks about the social determinants of health. That really provides the background right there. So that the social determinants of health, create a barrier. So as nurses, we have that. So I like to say this because that is the foundation of nursing. So for about policy, we can't talk about policy if we don't talk about the we can't talk about policy on the background. The next slide is the theorists. I like to what these our leaders have talked about. Virginia Henderson, who is a nurse theorist, talk about the unique function of a nurse. The unique function of a nurse is to assist the individual, sick or well, in the performance of those activities that contribute to health. What that individual cannot do for themselves. So you are doing this for this individual for themselves. Anderson defined nursing that as a nurse, you are doing this for this individual, which means that person can do things for themselves if they were not sick. So you are in a unique position, to help the individual. So for you now, helping that individual because they can't do for themselves, it's not only about giving medication, or patient medication, it's about removing those determinants of health. Very important. Removing those determinants of health. What does it know about nursing involving the sick? But what is also important is that it's not only to care for the sick, but also to look at those environments in which you provide the care. To also look at that environment of care. So as a nurse, the focus when it comes to part is not just the care that you provide, is what is involved in that care, what contributes to that care. And that is what we're going to talk about. Because health policy and politics shape the evolution of healthcare delivery. Important that the state and federal government, the state and the federal government shape the delivery, healthcare workforce and nursing practice. So patient care is a political endeavor. For you to shape policy, you have to look at the political implication. So it is essential that nurses are involved to ensure that nursing perspective is represented. If you are not at the table when decisions are made, if you are not at the table when decisions are made, you will be implementing decisions that are made for you by other people. Nursing practice is directly affected by nursing's involvement in policy development and political action. I want to stress this, and I really want us to focus on that nursing practice is affected by nursing's involvement in policy development and political action, which means healthcare decisions will be made with or without this. And let's take time to think about that. Healthcare decisions will be made with or without us. And that is why this leadership forum is very important. Nurses have to be at the table. Nurses have to get involved in policy, in decision making. Because if you don't make the decision, if you are not part of the decision making process, you will be in the menu. Up to night, others will make the decisions for you. Health policies we're talking about, although nurses as speakers comprise the majority of healthcare professionals, they are largely invisible in the same world. This is very to read and very important. Although nurses comprise the majority, but we are invisible in policy world, which means that our competence, skill, knowledge, and judgment are, as the word what you call image, we suggest, only a reflection. Only a reflection. So if we are missing from, or we are invisible in the policy world, what does that tell us? That is why most of us are frustrated and we complain about it, because we are not at the decision table. So we're going to be discussing how we can be part of the decision process. So before we do that, let's define policy. Health policy is a course of action undertaken by government or healthcare organization to obtain a desired health outcome. Health is a course undertaken by government. Okay, so when you talk about public health policy, it refers to those local, state, and federal legislations, regulations, and court rulings. Those are the policies. So at the to what happened during this pandemic, you could see even with the vaccine and also during the vaccine, you know, that local governments, our councils, our counties, we are making decisions. We are making the decisions. And you could see the link between local, the state, and so as nurses, my first question, where are we involved? Where are we? We are missing. Even at the local, who's making the decisions? Are nurses involved in that area? Private health policy is made by healthcare organizations like hospitals and managed care organizations. Nurses are always frustrated, very, very frustrated, when they come in and say, oh, this is the new policy, or this is the new procedure. And we know when those policies were changed, because we're missing at the table. Local health policies are those counties where they make decisions, to determine what is good for the county. That is the local health policies. And then when you talk about state health policies, it governs nursing. For example, our nursing practice, each state have their own policy. Provides invisible services, that is the state, for example, to maintain a safe meat supply, ensuring that healthcare facilities provide safe quality care. The a state, for example, the state pay for Medicaid, and the state pay for the state children health program. So these are also partly funded by the federal government. In the next slide, you're going to also see that when we talk about the policies at the state level, at the county level, it's also important for nurses to be present even at the local level. Because sometimes people might feel that the only way they can make their voices heard is in the hospital. No. Remember when we discussed the social determinants of health, we had said that social determinants of health also include the environment of care, the environment where you live, your community. So how involved are you, even as a nurse, in the community level? The community board has a meeting. Have you visited? Do you even know community board? When is the meeting? And also important as this, not only wait or think hospital, we also have to think environment of care. How involved are we in policy? How involved are we in the council? Who is your representative? Do you even know who is representing you? Do you know who is your congressperson? Do you know who is your assemblyman? Do you know when your community board are having a meeting? When they are making decisions that impact your environment? They're building a stadium. And let me tell you the truth. I'm aware that they were going to build a stadium. And when I went to review, there were series of meetings for the past 5 years that they've been having before that decision was made. So who made the decision? So who is making decisions for us? And how involved are we in those decisions? Let's look at, in the next slide, talk about health policy and local state, the historical examples of federal health policy that have shaped nursing practice. I just want to bring to your attention. For example, the Nursing Practice Administration was implemented 1910. That was when the Nursing Practice Act was implemented today. There is also an act, 1921, what they now call the Shepard-Turner Act. That act provides support for states to provide prenatal and infant health. Today, you see that people have free prenatal care. This was put in place way back 1921. Historical example of federal health policy that is shaping practice today. Another is the e-aborting. The e-aborting Act, where hospitals, we didn't have a lot of hospitals everywhere. That act, that bill, gave facility grant money. And most of the time when you have a bill that is passed, money is into it too. Gave money for state and then for institutions to have more beds in the hospital. This happened. We had a Medicare program. The Medicare program, that now provide care for those older or chronic diseases. These are some historical federal health policies that is out there. The renal disease program was 1920. Medicare was now expanded to cover Americans with kidney failure. And then there is another example I want to also show that impact our practice, what is called the diagnosis-related groups. I'm sure most of you have heard of DRG. This was enacted in 1983. But guess what today? This is how much Medicare will pay for hospital admissions. So if you're admitted to hospital, length of stay is what, so they to pay you for example, for hypertension, somebody is admitted for medication. And if Medicaid said it's only 5 days they're paying for, if the patient stays for 14 days, you won't get paid for this, you're getting paid for only 5 days. Policy imparting practice. So that policy was 1983, but it's after today, length of stay, where you let the patient out. The longer the more money you're going to lose in the house. That was enacted 1983. What healthcare reform of 20 that is imparting our practice today? The healthcare reform 2010. I don't know how many of you remember when the debate was going on before that 2010, what people now call Obamacare, Protection and Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act was passed 2010, and it also an Education Reconciliation Act with some modification. This healthcare reform is the largest or the biggest in the history of our healthcare system, and it's in everyone today. We have a lot of nurse practitioners today because of that healthcare reform. You know, during that time, nurse leaders have to push for education funding, which is called the Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act. When people talk about Obamacare, this is what it is. You know, 2010, that healthcare reform. What's also in this healthcare reform is that it provided several prevention oriented visions. You know, it is interesting to know why or most of people are fighting for healthcare policies. People are fighting for healthcare reform. That healthcare reform was passed. The main focus was on covering the uninsured. Remember, we have about 44 million uninsured. And Obama at that time wanted to push, for America covered. So you have people covering that. So the healthcare reform, though was on uninsured, but most push was for preventive medicine and the expansion of Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance. And what came with healthcare reform? People don't understand when they use the word Obamacare. You want to sit and look at that reform of 2010 that expanded funding for prevention-related programs and also to ensure that Americans are covered today. A lot of people now can focus on getting a doctor, to provide preventive services. And that is where the expansion for nurse practitioners today, because of that healthcare reform. The healthcare reform put a lot of provisions in that healthcare reform. No annual or lifetime limits on coverage, very popular. And it also guaranteed that the children remain on their parents' health insurance up to 26 years. And I'm sure most of you remember all this now. And what is also important is that it has to cover pre-existing conditions. Prior to that, insurance will drop you right away. If you have pre-existing, no insurance will accept you. But 2010 actually did that. And then it also at 2010, there was also a mandate that every individual has to have insurance or pay a penalty. But by 2019, Donald Trump, again, policy changed that. That is, we all get involved, participate, be part of care policy forum. Because look at that now. The individual mandate penalty no longer applies. Individual don't have to health insurance anymore. So what happened? People are going to until they're too sick before they come to the hospital. instead of having that preventive medicine. Think about all these laws. We don't understand the implication until it's affected. So I'm putting right now all the policies, just what health policies that we have out there. Another one that I of nurse practitioners is the health policies that have impacted nurse practitioners' practice. Call it now legislative achievement for nurse. Remember, prior to 2014, nurse practitioners have to practice under the doctor, and now 2014, nurse practitioner modernization act signed into law eliminates the requirement of an experienced NP to have a written practice with a physician. Let me tell you, this law did not just come like that. People have to walk behind closed doors. People were involved. They have to lobby, which I will talk about, to have all this. Look at the different laws, 2014, 2015. You have another clean up bill signed into law, changes made as a plus authorizes MP to perform physical exam for barbers seeking licensure. Nurse practitioners have been educated, and one of the IOM recommendations is that nurses should be allowed to put of their education. Unfortunately, you have people that were trying to put nurse practitioner the level of education. But when it comes to being political, has been going on behind closed doors. You have nurses at the hill in Albany trying to lobby to all these laws are put in place to support nursing practice. Because when you have the nurse able to provide care to the community, we will be reducing that social determinants of health. We will be helping our community. Nurse practitioners were authorized to certify. 2017, DNRB signed into. Why would this even be? This should be a given. No, but it's not a given. You have to fight for it. You have to be at the table. The law authorizes practitioners to execute or resuscitate and others relating to life-sustaining treatment. So before that 2017, nurse practitioners have to wait for the doctors to do that. But with policy, with input, with lobbying, we were able to achieve even compensation, workers' compensation. Nurse practitioners were not able to sign the forms. Again, that was taken up. And there are so many bills out there right now, policies. I don't know how many of you remember this. This was signed into law 2010. Assaulting a nurse is a shame. It is a crime. It's a felony in New York for New York State to assault a nurse on duty. We all know violence in the workplace. A lot of nurses have been assaulted. You know, they've been beaten. 2 years ago, you have a family member, undercover police. She didn't know it was an undercover police to kill the nurse and the caring father. He said they killed her mother. So she wanted them dead. You know, so at nice ANA 1, Organization for Nurse Executives, you know, to stop violence in workplace. This was one of the laws put together. I don't know how many of you remember Governor Patterson. His governor's term was short, but one of the achievements we got from him was this law. To make a nurse. You hit a nurse, you go to jail. It's a felony. You know, on your record, it's criminal. Again, these are policies. These are all laws that have been put in place, but guess what? It's not by sleeping at home. So I'm going to talk about health policy development. How does this policy that I've just, how do they come into place? What happened? Policy development is a complex, dynamic process that occurs in a variety of ways. It does not just happen overnight. You can't sit and get it. You have to fight for it. You have to lobby for it. So processes and of legislation and accompanying rules of law. Policy development, administrative decision made by various governmental agencies. So steps involved. There are numerous individuals involved when it comes to policy development. Elected officials, number one. Elected officials. Why am I stressing this? So those policies that I talked about for policy to be in effect, look at that, elected officials. Elected, why am I stressing this? Because if you are not part of the elected officials or you are not involved in it, your policy will not go forward. So policy development involves a lot of individuals and groups. Number one, they're elected officials, officials from governmental agencies, experts in related areas, stakeholders, other reasons where you have people lobby. For example, drunk driving law. Somebody actually spearheaded that a mother that they died by was killed by the devil. She to make sure it's a law when you drive drunk driving, you have to go in for it. Policy development involves all three branches of government. The executive, talk about the president. Legislative government, you talk about the House, the judiciary. So which of these are you involving? Which area are nurses involving? The three government. We are invisible. And now we're talking about us getting involved. Legislation and health policy development is fundamental to movement from a public viable program. It's not enough to just complain. As nurses, we complain a lot. And guess what? Your complaint is there if you don't move it. Legislative process is fundamental to moving that complaint from a problem to a viable program. If you are a nurse and you're really concerned about a situation, you're concerned about healthcare, and you want something done, you have to be involved because legislative process is fundamental. Problem to a viable program. So societal problems that may qualify for a policy solution are those brought to the attention of a policy maker who is willing to take definitive action through the policy process. Your problem that will qualify as a policy solution has to be brought to the attention of your policy maker. So you could see the difference between just complaining and doing the work. There are steps in the legislative process. These steps include introduction, so introducing the problem. Introducing the problem. Why? You are introducing the problem through legislator. You have to introduce the problem through an elected official. So you could see that the first step in a legislative process is to introduce that problem. You have to introduce it. And you have to introduce it through an elected official. And once that problem is introduced, it goes through committee action. There will be a committee set up. And once that committee is set up, the House and the committee comes and they accept that they have to go to the House. It take years sometimes. And once they are to approve that, then it goes to Senate, to presidential. So it's a long process for the problem, that legislative process. Yeah, it's very complex, convoluted, which means that as nurses, you have to be there when it's introduced. You have to be there when the committee is formed. You have to be there in the House. You have to be there at the Senate. You have to be there at the presidential level as well. I think that is why we are missing in action, because we don't have that time, but we need the time. It's a very complex and convoluted process with only a fraction of legislation that is introduced actually make it through the final process to become law. All those laws, that was why I would spend time to go through some of those laws, that are in place today. Once a bill becomes law, implementation will fall under the jurisdiction of one of the departments under the executive branch. So implementing that legislation may take a different form from when it was introduced. And that is why nurses must not stop at the introduction phase. They have to go all the way, even through until the final bill is passed, and follow it through the process of implementation. Nurses can play an input into the final implementation. Very important, for nurses to do that. Unfortunately, we are missing because we don't understand the concept, of healthcare policy and politics. The next slides, I actually talk about the health in all policies approach. The health in all policy approach is an innovative strategy that introduces improved popular outcomes and closing the health gap as goal to be shared across all parts of government. Which nursing is not only at the bedside or in the hospital, across all parts of government. If we have to focus on social determinants of health, we have to be involved at all levels. When I went to Nigeria for a medical mission, I actually saw this policy put in place during, I think, Kogi. We were at Kogi flag up for the health mission. In that flag up program, we had the education commissioner for education, commissioner for women's affairs, commissioner for agriculture, commissioner for women's affairs, and commissioner. And I actually take away an important information from them. Each of the speaker of the commissioners to speak, one thing they say is this, that they are here, this health mission, because health is involved in every aspect of our lives. The commissioner for agriculture said, if my farmers are not healthy, they won't be able to. The commissioner for education said, if the teachers and the students are not healthy, they won't be able to go to school. The commissioner for women's affairs said, most women are market, the trade. So if they are not healthy, they won't be able to go to the market. So you can see how important health is. And so you can see how important health policy is. That health policy cuts across all departments. And so if nurses, if we're saying, in the next slide, I'm going to show this for a little while. If nurses want to get involved in health policy and politics, the most important thing is to become nurse advocates. We have to be an advocate across all centers, in education, in agriculture, across all departments, all levels. So being a nurse does not restrict you, just put you, in the acute care setting only when it comes to health policy. So to get it, you have to move away from your comfort zone and don't see yourself as just a nurse. Look at the super nurse here, nurse advocate, Congress, you are there at all levels as nurses. So politics and policy, like I said before, For you to enact any law, it has to go through what? Legislative body, which is politics. Nurses don't want to talk about politics. Nurses don't want to say, oh no, I'm not a politician. Well, the politicians will make the rules for you. The politicians will make the policy for you. The politician will make decisions for you. Remember the first slide I said, you are there or you are not there, policies will be made with or without nurses. But what we are saying is that leaders, and even as nurses, we want to be at the table. We want to be where decisions are made. Remember, politics has become the essential part of our being because it affects what we do, what we eat, where we live, accessibility to healthcare, and even the type of air we breathe. Politics is everything. Unfortunately, we are led, and we can see what happens with what? 2020 election, and even the pandemic. You could see the politics that is going on. So as nurses, if we want to shy away from politics, then we'll be doing ourselves what? Disservice. Then we should stop complaining. When policies that does not benefit our patient, our profession are being enacted, we will not be there if we are not involved at the table. The nursing profession should be in the forefront of healthcare initiative, but most of the time it has been relegated to the background, and sometimes we've forgotten entirely when important decisions are made. We are not there. When important decisions are made, we are not there. We complain over and over again when nursing colleagues are not recognized or appointed. How many nurse politicians do you know? How many nurses are governors? How many nurses are presidents of hospitals? What makes you think because you are a nurse, you must stop at the bedside level? What makes you think as a nurse you cannot be the governor of New York? What makes you think as a nurse you cannot be the president of the United States? Do not allow sin or sin as what? As a barrier to political achievement. Because for you to make changes, you have to be at the table. And most changes, most policies are made at the legislative body. Nursing profession has the numbers, and so leverage that to push our agenda. And I really recommend us today that yes, we have the educational, now we have as nurse leaders, let's move forward like the other speakers have said. Politics is a necessary part of policy process when multiple interest groups compete to achieving goals. So when multiple interests are competing, so if nurses are not there, how are you going to compete? You are not even available. You are not even there, not to talk about competing. So it's very important, for you to understand the connection between politics and policy. You have to understand that those people you put in power are the one enacting policies. They are the one changing policies. If you look at Donald Trump, he came, the first thing he did was to start putting this in place. I think he appointed over hundreds judges in place because he knows that what? They will have impact in policy making. Politics also involve varied agenda of the Democratic, Republican, and Independent parties. They have their own agenda and they want to push it forward. What if that agenda does not benefit nursing? Who will speak for nursing? What if that agenda does not benefit the community that you serve? Who will speak for your community? What if that agenda does not benefit the patient? Who will speak for your patient? So forms of political influence include money. This is where it's very critical. Knowledge, relationships, information, talent, and control over large groups of votes. So for you to have political influence, number one, money. It involves a lot of money. Seeing all those politicians begging or campaign, asking for money for donation, because without money, you won't be able to do it. But it also involves, because you could have money, but if you don't know how to play the politics around it, you're not going anywhere. Relationship, networking is power. Networking. You have groups and individuals who take a stake in the faith, peace. One thing, right? that we are now encouraging nursing institutions to do is to please discuss policy and politics, even from associate degree in BSN. Start to do more of policy and politics. Enough of this when we sit at the sit around and waiting for implementation, and when you are at the implementation phase, it's too late. You know, through effective political actions, nurses can positively influence legislative decisions, and that is going on now. What are those strategies that we need at the grassroots level? One is to register to vote, and you have to vote. It's not enough to vote at the presidential election. What people do during the presidential election, everybody go in and vote. That is not enough. You have to register to vote at all, in all elections. Your local election, people don't even know that judges are elected. Some judges are elected. Don't know. So we have to get that. Joining a professional nursing organization that is fighting for the nursing profession, and also volunteer to campaign, to work with a candidate's campaign, attending meetings. When you live here, to please go to your community board. When is their next meeting? Be part of it to know what is going on in your community. Visiting policy makers. When I was teaching professional development, one of the curriculum I put in place is to assignment is to make sure that the nurses visit their legislature. They have to pay a visit to them to understand and find out what their agenda is. Communicating with policymakers. These are grassroots strategies, and this is why now I don't know how many people on this. If you know, you could put it on the chart. What is Labor Lobby Day? Nurses Day at the Capitol. How many people have participated in a Lobby Day or Nurses Day? And also, what nurses can do at the grassroots level is to present award or recognition of lawmakers who have immersed or contributed immensely, you know, to health policy or nursing, you know, what nursing agenda. So it is very important for us to know the connection between nursing, policy, political participation. So I just give example of ANA. For example, ANA is supporting politics, you know, by having a PAC. You know, they have a Congress. They go to Congress, I think every April. They go to Capitol Hill and meet with all those lawmakers. The ANA priorities for policy issue right now is not patient safety and advocacy, workplace rights, appropriate staffing. I don't know how many of you know that the new law in New York State that just came up is that institution has to put in place staffing ratio, so that by January, the law will be enacted about staffing ratio. For example, if the institution says that med-surg nurses will only have 6 patients to 1 nurse, that is what it will be. If not, they will be fine. You know, so these are policies that ANA is putting in place. ANA has put together Political Action Committee. The Political Action Committee unified nurses' political voices across country to enact measures to enhance health care. They empower nurses by encouraging them to join the politics, and they provide structure and coordination for nurses across the country. You know, so as a nurse, you could join the Political Action Committee. You could donate, you know, to ANA Political Action Committee, you know, and what they do, they endorse. They do candidates. They endorse candidates, and they are allowed to do that because they've registered as a Political Action Committee. And that is why people talk about, oh, America, nurses have a voice, nursing is so strong compared to the other countries or other countries. Yes, because ANA put together a political action. Lobby is very expensive. They pay people to lobby. Let me give you this. In 2007 and 2008 election cycle, ANA PAC endorsed 103 candidates. They endorsed 103 candidates for federal office. This endorsement represents ANA's highest seal of approval. Of those 103 that they endorsed, 88% of the endorsed candidate won, and that included President Obama in 2008. And they've continued to do that. So political action group is very important. Nurse practitioners of New York State also have a political action group. All those examples I showed to you of their achievement is as a result of their political action group. You know, they don't just sit around and complain. They actually walk the walk, and then they encourage contributions. But I'm going to let you know that your contribution is very important for nurses to have a voice. You know, for nurses to have a voice in Albany. But your contribution is not as deductible. You know, it's something you give because of the passion you have for nursing. You know, because there's a law, you know, that says that your information will be provided to the government when you provide any amount that exceeds $200. You know, so political contribution is encouraged. I encourage everyone to participate in the political contribution to ANA or to nurse practitioners group if you are a member of nurse practitioner. Even if you are not a member, to support. Let me tell you, what we are enjoying today is what our leaders, you know, for us. So for nurses, for Nana, this is the Nana before I round up. This is Nnausa group. Nana also came up with that idea to have a political action group. The purpose of the new PAC will be to provide political support for issues important to Nigerian nurses at all levels of government in the United States. Like I said before, it will not be a bad idea for a Nigerian nurse to be a mayor of New York. It will not be a bad idea for a Nigerian nurse to be the to stop putting ourselves down. I'm just a nurse. You're not just a nurse. So Nana is taking a bold step to provide financial and other support to politicians of Nigerian descent seeking public office. It could be your child, you know, out there right now. Maybe she's young, he's young. We want to start educating them to join the political community so that they can help also move our agenda, our policies. If we don't do it, others will do it for us. Other people are doing it. Like Ms. Ruthie said, 91% of nurse leaders are who? Occasioned. What about Nigerian nurses? We want to change that and the diversity right there. So I'm happy to say that we are putting this in practice already. For those who don't know, last month, August, this is our former president. For you, please, the next slide. You could see the picture here is Mr. Okpesei, our president, meeting with, hopefully we don't win, mayor candidate, Eric Adams for New York. And then they did a fundraising for the first time in the history of Nigerian community. Nigerian organizations came together to endorse a political candidate. For the first time, we are not putting our voice out there. You know, I was endorsing, I endorsed another candidate, you know, but he didn't win the primary. So now we have to come together since he won the Democratic, you know, so the Nigerian Nurses Diaspora Political Action Committee that is in works came together and they attended the fundraising. And it was also very disappointing when they were trying to do fundraising for this individual Nigerian organization could not come up with. There is a set amount. I told you for you to fundraise for lobby with money. Politics is about money. Guess what? They were supposed to put down $25,000. They were not able to raise that. But nurses, Nigerian nurses, came together and they raised over $11,000. And that gave us a voice. What is happening in this picture is that the folder that Adams had right there is, how will I say this? It was put together that this is the demand that this is what we want when you become a mayor of New York. This is what we want. That is the folder that our former president just handed over to the Adams. So what am I saying here to round up? In the next slide, I'm telling you here to add your voice, add your time, your money for us to really the playing field. Remember, other people are there already. They're pushing forward. We have to make the decision. Whether you are a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, there is one thing that we can all agree on. As nurses, we only want the very best for our profession and our patient. Yes, nursing have gained a lot of legislation on the hill, but there is still much work to do. Remember, this is what we want for everyone to know. When nurses speak, Washington listen. We have the numbers. Do we have the voice? We have the numbers. Do we have the vote? We have the numbers. Do we have the table? Numbers. Do we have the chair? We have the numbers. What are we doing with it? Nurse as an advocate, individual or group. Remember, IOM said that we have to lead the change in healthcare. You cannot lead from behind. You cannot lead by sitting at home. You cannot lead by not being in the group. For you to lead, you have to have a voice. For you to lead, you have to commit. For you to lead, you have to be passionate about it. For you to lead, not everybody can go to the hill, but support with your money. For you to lead, and I'm so happy that in the Nigerian community, Nigerian nurses in New York is well recognized. Not only in our health advocacy, but now we are saying in policy. We want to be part of policy change. We want to be part of that political change. Because for you, if you are not at the table, you will be in the menu. That will be no more. We want our voice to be heard. When nurses speak, Washington listen. Thank you for having me.
Whoa, that is awesome, Dr. Grace. My God. Thank you so much, Dr. Grace, for that eye-opening presentation. We always say great nurses, excellent nurses, scientific nurses. Now we have to add political nurses, because we have to learn to get away from our comfort zone. We have to learn not to just be at the bedside. We have to be part of the decision makers. From what Dr. Grace has said, she spoke about moving away from your comfort zone. Nurses, we shy away from politics, but we need to be there. We need to be there. We cannot allow the politicians to make the decisions for us. During the time of COVID, the decisions that were being made were not made by healthcare professionals. So that's why we need to be there as part of the table. Nurses, we shouldn't shy away from politics. Do not let others make your decisions. We cannot have others make our decisions for us. We have to learn to be part of those that make the decisions. And if there's one thing else that she said, when it's time for elections, don't just go vote just for presidential elections. You have to vote for each elections that goes. She spoke about knowing your representatives. Do you know who they are? You have to make yourself known. You have to make an impact. It was truly, truly eye-opening. Thank you so much, Dr. Grace, for this eye-opening presentations. We do have some questions that came into the chat room. So I'll be asking this of Dr. Grace. One of the questions was, as a nurse leader, how can you advise on the current trends in nursing practice? Nurses are shying away from learning and experience. They move to become NPs without any knowledge. Now medical professions do not respect us because many cannot even perform meaningful physical exams. It's a long question. He said, I'm afraid that soon it will be a bedside qualification if no standard is set. The profession should mandate at least 2 years experience before obtaining their NP. Dr. Grace.
Right. Thank you so much for that question. And that is a concern for everyone. I teach also at the I teach MPs, and the DMPs. I see that all the time. A lot of the younger generations or young nurses don't want to stay at the bedside, so they just, as soon as they move from bedside, they want MP. And that now there is also again talk going on, that with the schools, to start looking at the curriculum. I think when 2010, when the act was passed, they didn't have enough interns. We don't have enough doctors, primary care physicians. They will buy money in, and so what she did was to actually nursing took advantage of that and said, okay, they want to increase the number of nurse practitioners out there. But where they missed the ball was that requirement. Now that we have more, we have a lot of nurse practitioners now, and I know they're going to go back to that requirement of 2 years practice, and before, because if you notice also now, there's in it, so you now have to have, if you practice in primary health care, or if you practice in critical care, you practice in acute care. So they are not differentiating it. Remember again, when the nurse practitioner program first came out, people were not interested in it. Now that we have more, we are seeing more interest. Now they are trying to reform and reorganize the whole thing. So we are hoping that we are producing quality nurses, nursing with excellence, nursing with clinical expertise, because if not, it defeats the purpose. The goal for that nurse practitioners was to help bridge that gap where communities don't have primary health care nurses. So if you cannot do basic, then it's of no use. So now I think they are looking into that right now, cracking that on designing the curriculum, so that schools, we now start looking at the products. Who are they producing? So that question is very, very important, and we want that voice. We want that to be sent to academy, nursing academy or NLN. So all this information should go to NLN so that curriculums will be reduced. So we'll be looking at reviewed. We'll be looking at nurses that we are producing. So we want quality, efficient, intelligent nurses out there. Because safety is a must. We want our patients to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grace. We have another question here. You said, I was advised years back that when you attend labor meeting, even without speaking out, management tag you and start looking for ways to get rid of you. With this kind of threat, how do we as nurses feel comfortable to speak out in such meetings?
I think thank you also for that question. The first thing I think those first speakers said is knowledge. You have to know. You don't just go out there to speak and you don't know what you're about. Mm-hmm. I was a union delegate when I was in Bellevue, and I was in charge of the for head nurses. Okay, and I always tell those managers then, before you call me to represent my head nurse, you really have to be ready and you know what you're doing. Because none of my head nurses will go there and then be disciplined, because I always have questions, for those managers coming. And what I found out also is that the manager don't do their diligent work. So if you're a nurse and you really want to be advocate, you need to advocate with content. You need to advocate with information. You need to advocate with knowledge. So when they know that you don't have to be adversary, you don't have to fight. Remember, the focus is about patient safety. We now have to learn, very important, to always turn issues, patient safety issues. But what nurses do that are targeted, they make it personal. It's about me, the manager don't like me. It's not about you. Turn the situation. What are you fighting for? If you talk about, like, when I work with nurses and they come in, oh, we have too many patients, we're so busy. That is the word they use. We're so busy, it's not fair, we're so busy. Are you not supposed to be busy? You need to use the correct terminology. You need to use the correct word. Remember what the first speaker said, that healthcare is a business right now. So you're not going to come in and say, we're so busy. So you're going to come to work not to be busy. But instead, you have to look at the nursing care hours. For example, when I cover the COVID unit, I have to advocate for more nurses for COVID unit. How do I change that? That you need to focus on that COVID patient require more nursing care hours. Why? You need to see the patient up. You need to provide what? Respiratory care. You need to populate so that is nursing care hours. We need to use the correct terminology that the business people are using, the nurses are using, politicians are using. We need to integrate. Move it, or my person or me. Instead, we need to start using the terminology that is needed for patient. Now we talk about patient experience, right? Everything is about HCAP. So if you know you're going to confront your manager, don't go personal. I know you don't like me. Anytime I come late, first of all, you're not supposed to come late. So move that aside. No, we're talking about HCAPs. How do you not take, if you notice that nurse manager don't like you, look at the HCAP number on your unit. What is it? Is it 3? Is it 4? You're going to see how your work can help change the HCAP from 3 to 4. So you need to look at what is it. I think that is the education we need. How to survive in those words. Like I think Ms. Ruthie said that most people don't want to be nurse leader. They say, oh, they're going to get fired. My first 3 years was when I was a best head nurse. The past 35 years, I've been in leadership and I've not been fired once. So I have to learn how to use patient. Patient comes first. Or for example, is we have so many admissions. So suppositions. So what does having so many admissions do? If you have too many admissions, it goes to decrease what? Patient assessment skill. The time it takes to know the patient. So you need to speak the language. So that is what you need. Once you start doing that, even the manager, it's about the unit, may now feel that you are what? Supporting him or her. I learned a very lesson. Let me quickly use this to answer that question too. We had a situation when St. John's Hospital, I don't know if many of you remember, in Queens Boulevard was closed down. When St. John's was closed down, we got a lot of the patients, to our hospital. We started, our emergency room was packed and all that. And we're having leadership meeting. Being a Nigerian, first of all, they said we speak too loud. We speak with, I can see I'm using my and all that. In that leadership meeting, you have the president, the CEO, everybody was there. And I was so upset. And so that is why you don't speak when you're upset. I was so upset. I'm like, didn't we know that the hospital, Queens closed? What did we put in place? Why didn't we do this? Look at what I'm doing now. Blame game. Guess what? Another nurse, I think somebody talked about having experience. came in. And what did she do? Thank you, Mr. President. You're doing a great job. We're going to try the best we can. Look at that. She just went and speak in that way. But what we want is, how do we resolve the problem we are having right now? Resolve that. But she became so social and all that, you know. And I was now, if you look at that, it's like I was hostile, you know, to management. She was the good one. But at the end of that meeting, I got a call from the president, and he wanted to know more what I was saying. And then he advised me and said, this is how you put it. Now you can say that, look, we are experiencing a surge. You know, maybe we need to put a plan in place. Maybe we need to put a plan in place. You know, because we didn't put a plan in place, we're having this surge. So we need to prevent this from happening. So he taught me how to speak when you are at the table. It's not going to come easy. We have to learn it. When I'm at the table, I look at who is there, and I look at what their qualifications, their influence. Then I'm able to now put my thoughts across. Thank you.
Dr. Grace, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to read a few of what we have in the chat room here. Very, very interesting presentation. It says here that this is called knowledge sharing. We need more of these repeated in many nursing forums. Excellent presentation, great presentation on politics. We need to be represented. As nurses, we need to be represented. Dr. Grace stated that although nurses compromise, we comprise of the majority of the healthcare professionals, but we are largely invisible in the world of politics. So we need to be represented. Safe staffing with inclusion of frontline nurses in decision-making committees has come to stay. That's a good thing. Someone said that they participated in the 8 lobby days in Albany. It was rewarding. Talking to your legislators, always shake them, because they know that they are begging for your vote. So they will listen to you. So we have to get involved. So everything that Dr. Grace just presented, people are just reiterating what was said. To be active political process in USA, we have to leave behind our Nigerian political experiences and be part of the table. Don't be the menu. Be part of the decision makers. Don't just be that bedside nurse. Don't box yourself. Look at yourself that, yes, you can do it. You are a nurse. Nurses, we can diversify ourselves. As Dr. Grace said, we can be presidents. We can be governors. Who says you cannot be a governor? Who says you cannot be a president? Because you are a nurse. So we are empowering you today. So go out there as nurses. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? Any other questions? Anyone on Zoom? You have any questions? Any questions? You can raise up your electronic hands. Few questions before we round up. If there are no questions, I thank everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.
she go dance. And if I move, she go move. Baby mama, if I dance, I like you like that. Mama, she go dance, I like you like that. And if I move, say she go move. Shingoro, pata, tungoro, papa, tungoro, mama, tangoro, pata, tungoro, mata, tangoro, it's a mata, shingoro, for example, for example, say I do my hand like this, so the go like that. I do the hand like that, so the body go like this. What's it so What's it so she go dance, and if I move, she go move. Baby mama, if I dance, how much she go dance? I like you like that. If I move, say she go move. Shingoro, pata, shingoro, papa, shingoro, mama, shingoro, pata, shingoro, mata, shingoro, it's a mata, shingoro. I'm like your body, sexy, not chica. If the one go, make me go down, something lucky, wait, bumpy, bumpy, lucky, girl. Tease me, baby, let me show you how I do. Once you if I dance, she go dance, and if I move, she go move. Baby mama, if I dance, how much she go dance? I like you like that. And if I move, say she go move. Shingoro, pata, shingoro, papa, shingoro, mama, shingoro, pata, shingoro, see you like it is singing song, baby. You like it is singing songs. Play the beat, so. Take it on, take it on, take it on, take it on.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring some fun into the presentations today. And those are just our little intermissions. If we were together, we'll take breaks and have some intermissions. So I wanted us to have fun. So with this, we have come to the end of the presentations. First, I just want to say a big thank you to all the presenters. I have to say a huge thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Roslyn Uti. Thank you, Mrs. Comfort Okorocha Ibe. Thank you, Dr. Grace Ogieho and Noma. We appreciate you. Thank you, my able president, ID, for giving me and my committee the opportunity to bring this conference, this educational day. I appreciate you. And thank you also, Dr. Latifa Okeke, for co-hosting this with me. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you, my great nurses, my excellent nurses, my scientific nurses, my political nurses. We will do this again next year. At this time, after the closing prayer, please, I want us just to, wait. I will be posting the link for the evaluation, but I will call on Mr. Muibi Akadri to give us the closing prayer, and then the link will be posted, and I just need everyone to complete the evaluation so you can get your CEO credits. Thank you so much, great nurses. I love you all. Thank you, Mr. Muibi. Mr. Muibi Akadri, please, for the closing prayer.
Glory be to God.
Amen.
For helping us to see the end of this laudable program packaged together by our able leaders. We beseech you, O Lord, to give us the wisdom to be able to use all the knowledge that have impacted on us. Let us have the opportunity and the wisdom to use the knowledge in taking care of our patients and in impacting the same knowledge on those that are subordinate to us. We praise thee, O Lord, to give us another opportunity to continue learning in our this profession. We pray in the holy name of God. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we will post the link. Please, if you can just go to your chat room and you will see the link there. Just to complete the evaluation, we will appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening all. Did we post the link? You did? Okay. The link is on the chat room. Thank you. Have a blessed evening. Thank you.
It's about Nigeria. It's amazing how we've come this far, but appreciate tomorrow.